Good afternoon, everyone. This is Matt Sexton of the Florida Department of Transportation's CAD office. Give me just 1 second to get things started here. It appears that my recording location does not exist according to GoToMeetings, so I'm going to fix that real quick. Alrighty. So as I said, this is Matt Sexton of the Florida Department of Transportation's CAD office. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Alrighty. Welcome to the FDOT CAD office updates for February 2022. Throughout this webinar, you can enter questions that you might have in the Q&A dialogue. Hopefully everyone's familiar with that. My colleagues will be answering the questions throughout this through the Q&A dialogue throughout the webinar. At the end of the presentation, I will take a few minutes to review the Q&A and answer any additional questions. After the webinar, we will compile these questions into a Q&A document, as we often do, that will be posted along with the recording of the webinar on the CAD office website. During my presentation, I will take a moment to take you to the website to give you a brief tour, just so everyone knows where all of these things will be posted. So what is new at the FDOT CAD office? Just last month, as part of our quarterly software releases, we published FDOTConnect 10.09.02.00, which is maintenance release 2 for the FDOTConnect software. We also published the initial release of FDOTConnect 10.10, which I'll be talking about more extensively later. And last but not least, we published maintenance release 1 of FDOT 2022.C3D for Autodesk Civil 3D and AutoCAD. These maintenance releases contain certain updates to tools and resources to enhance the FDOT project workflow. Additionally, with the FDOTConnect 10.10 software, the CAD office has implemented new installation options, which I will discuss further in subsequent slides. As I mentioned on the previous slide, the FDOT CAD office recently published our quarterly maintenance releases. This software is available for download from the CAD office website as usual, which I will show you during the tour of the website. Another change that we'll be making to our software update schedule is that after this most recent maintenance release, the CAD office will be releasing only one update per platform each quarter. That is to say that we will have FDOTConnect 10.10 MR1 and FDOT 2022.C3D MR2, and not simultaneously release an update for FDOTConnect 10.09 or FDOT 2021.C3D. Our most recent software release included both the maintenance release for FDOTConnect 10.09, as I said, for use with the 10.09 versions of Connect Edition applications, as well as the initial release of what we are referring to as FDOT 10.10. We chose to brand the new FDOTConnect 10.10 software with a different name for two reasons. The 10.09 and 10.10 versions of the Connect Edition applications are not compatible, and some users might not be ready to update to the 10.10 schema change. Additionally, the FDOTConnect 10.10 software installs to a separate custom location, FDOTConnect 10.10, depending on whether that's a workstation or a server, allowing for side-by-side installations. If you already have FDOTConnect installed on your machine with the certified 10.09 versions of the Connect Edition software, such as Open Roads, Open Bridge, or MicroStation Connect Edition, you can simply install the certified version of the 10.10 application, such as Open Roads, Open Bridge, or MicroStation Connect Edition, and then install the FDOTConnect 10.10 software. The steps for the configuration are otherwise identical to the previous FDOTConnect software. After completing the installation steps, a new FDOTConnect 10.10 desktop folder will be created, allowing you to launch either the FDOTConnect for 10.09 version from the previous desktop folder, or the new FDOTConnect 10.10 workspace from the new FDOTConnect 10.10 desktop folder and launch icons. As a quick review, FDOTConnect MR2 1009-0200 is certified for the use with the 1009 versions of Connect Edition applications such as Open Roads, Open Bridge, and MicroStation Connect. This slide shows a screen cap from our website showing these certified versions. You can see it's MicroStation 1015-0211, Open Roads Designer 1009-0091, Open Bridge Modeler 1009-0070, and Open Bridge Designer 1009-0115. That is for the FDOTConnect, which we're referring to as FDOTConnect 1009-02, MR2 of FDOTConnect. The new FDOTConnect 1010 is certified for use with the 1010 versions of Bentley Connect Edition software. This is a screen cap from our website showing the certified versions for FDOTConnect 1010. You can see that MicroStation 1016-0156, Open Roads Designer 1010-0103, Open Bridge Modeler 1010-0085, and Open Bridge Designer 1010-0026. Performing a side-by-side installation of these two FDOT workspaces for the two different schemas of Connect Edition applications will allow you to continue working on existing FDOTConnect 1009 projects without updating to the sorry, I wrote this script wrong, without updating the project files to 1010, while at the same time being able to create new projects in the 1010 schema format in the other applications. There's currently not a set date by which projects need to be updated to 1010. So the FDOT-CAD office will continue to provide support for projects using the 1009 schema, as well as projects created in or updated to the 1010 schema. As always, we encourage users to communicate and coordinate with all parties involved in a project to determine if it will remain in 1009 or be updated to 1010, as the files with the 1010 schema cannot be opened in 1009. As a side note, files using the 1009 schema can be viewed read-only in 1010 applications without updating the files to 1010. But again, we encourage users to communicate and coordinate with all parties involved in a project. The next few slides might seem a little bit repetitive, but I believe that repetition is the key to learning. So bear with me, I try to say the same thing several times in different ways. The side-by-side installation of FDOTConnect 1009 and FDOTConnect 1010 is relatively simple. Follow the current installation guide instructions for FDOTConnect, which is 1009, whether it's a workstation installation or a client-server installation. Your workstation or client installation will install to C FDOTConnect by default, just like it has been. For a standalone workstation, FDOTConnect 1009 workstation is installed to the C FDOTConnect, and FDOTConnect 1010 is installed to C FDOTConnect 1010, as you can see on this slide. It keeps the software in separate locations, so it's side by side. For a client server installation, the FDOTConnect 1009 server is installed in one server location, such as server name FDOTConnect, and the FDOTConnect 1010 server software is installed to server FDOTConnect 1010. The client versions of the software would then be installed to C FDOTConnect for the 1009 version and C FDOTConnect 1010 respectively. In other words, the installation sequence would be as follows. For a workstation installation, install the certified 1009 versions of your favorite Connect Edition application, and be sure to set the custom configuration location to C FDOTConnect during the installation of that application as per the installation guide. Next, install the certified 1010 version of your favorite Connect Edition application, being sure, once again, to set the custom configuration location, but this time set it to C FDOTConnect 1010. if you read the installation guide, even if you're looking at the 1009 installation guide, it does step you through that additional step during the installation of open roads, open bridge, or microstation to set that custom configuration location. That works the same way in 1009 and 1010 during that installation. For a client server installation, install the FDOTConnect and FDOTConnect 1010 server software to their respective server locations that I described 2 slides ago, and then install the certified 1009 and 1010 versions of your favorite Connect Edition application on the client machine. Being sure, once again, to set the custom configuration location during installation to the proper server location for each, and then install FDOTConnect and FDOTConnect 1010 client software to the respective C F.Connect and C F.Connect 1010. Or you could just move forward to 1010 and not look back. That's also an option. Not to force you to do a side-by-side installation, but yeah, just an idea. And if you do move forward to 1010 without looking back, how do you deal with your projects that were created in 1009? As always, the CAD office encourages designers to communicate and coordinate with all parties involved in a project regarding what version of the software will be used. If you have any questions about what version of the software should be used, your district project manager can provide guidance. As mentioned before, DGN files created using the 1009 schema can be updated to the 1010 schema. This can be done by simply opening them in ORD 1010 or another 1010 Connect Edition application. However, Bentley has also provided a new tool called Civil File Manager to update multiple files to the new 1010 schema. For more information about how to use Civil File Manager, you can see the online help documentation for Open Roads Designer or other Connect Edition applications. I checked out the help document yesterday. It was very easy to find. It is located in the help document under Home, File, Civil File Manager, specifically in Open Roads Designer. I imagine it's in a similarly relative location in the other help documentation. It's a fairly self-explanatory and intuitive application. So what's new in FDOT Connect 1010 anyways? In the new FDOTConnect 1010, some of the new and updated tools and resources include an updated Place Professional of Record tool, updates to the FDOT Sign tool and FDOT Pavement Marking tool, as well as updates to pay items and other resources associated with the automated quantities workflow. In the 1010 applications, Bentley has enhanced and resolved defects with some plans development related tools, as well as introduced a number of upcoming tools that we anticipate integrating into our workflow in the future. Amongst the updated FDOT tools, as I mentioned before, is the Place Professional of Record tool, which can be used to place the Professional of Record cell on multiple sheet title blocks. This tool has been enhanced and updated for 1010, and one of the major notable enhancements that's available in Open Bridge for the structures workflow is that sheet initials to indicate drawn by, checked by, designed by, and bridge number can be placed. So you see the difference between these two screen caps. This one on the left is in Open Roads, and this one is in Open Bridge. You do have the option to add those sheet initials for those of you who use the structures workflow, that you might be familiar with that aspect of it. The new FDOT Sign tool has been updated to include user interface and workflow enhancements, as well as the functionality to add additional pay item numbers to signposts, so it functions more like the FDOT Signals tool. The pavement marking tool has been enhanced to allow for striping patterns to be labeled after placement. There have also been some user interface updates to that as well. All right, so At this point, I do want to point out that the tools and resources associated with automated quantities have been enhanced and updated for 1010 as well. Some of these tools involve resources and templates that have been added to the Xero Workset template that's located in your Workset folder. Candy Daffin, who's our resident automated quantities workflow expert, is going to cover this topic in a minute. But before I turn things over to Candy, I do want to give you a brief tour of the website to show you a few resources that are important to you with regard to making decisions about deploying the FDOTConnect software. So I'm going to take just a second here. That's my cat, Eugene. He's a taco. Where's the website? Right here. Okay, there we go. So this is the cat office website, as you know. In fact, I'll go ahead and there we are. FDOTConnect.gov, or sorry, FDOTConnect.gov. Been saying FDOTConnect all day. FDOT.gov/CAD, CADD. To download the software, if you didn't get the email through the contact mailer, don't forget that it's right here under Most Requested on the right-hand side. I'm going to show you something very important about this. You can see we do have the FDOT 2022 C3D for your Civil 3D software. And here are the two flavors of FDOTConnect that I've been talking about, the 1010.00 and the 1009.02, the MR2 of the original FDOTConnect for 1009. As with our previous FDOTConnect software, you'll see there is an installation guide that actually does need to be updated. I apologize. It works exactly the same way as 1009, just with a different folder name. Client installation, server installation, and workstation installation. The release notes are quite robust. I have updated them so they're easier to read than my traditional release notes, which were nothing but a giant block of text. I created a nice spreadsheet so it's easy to navigate. And you'll see with 1009 that has also a very similar page for downloading. Bear in mind that this is certified for the 1009 software, but wait, how do I know what software to install with the 1010 and the 1009? This is very confusing. If you click on current supported versions at the bottom of the 1009 page, or at the bottom of the 1010 page, whoops, that's not it, at the bottom of the 1010 page, click on current supported versions. It'll take you to our current supported versions page. You'll see here's your Autodesk CAD platform, Civil 3D, etc. And here's the Bentley stuff. I would like to point out, you can see the version number on the far right. We have two FDOTConnect workspaces, as I've been talking about, two separate FDOTConnect workspaces, the 1010 and the certified versions that go along with the 1010, and then the 1009.02 and the versions of the Bentley software that go along with 1009.02. And as promised, just to let you know, because I did mention this webinar is being recorded and will be posted along with the Q&A document that we are currently in the process of generating as you send us questions. You can scroll down to Most Requested, select F.CAD Posted Webinars. This is where we post our webinars. And you will then find under the F.Connect Open Roads Designer section, there will be a new webinar shortly entitled FCAD Updates. Is that what we're calling this one? What did I say at the beginning? FCAD Updates 2022. So you'll have access to that along with the FAQ, and I will be posting my presentation along with that, so you will have access to that. Okay, Candy, I'm going to go ahead and let you take over the presentation to show us what's new with automated quantities. I understand that you've got quite a bit to show, and then I will take back over at the end and go through any questions that are not yet answered and do my best to provide insight to the answer for those questions. So without further ado, Candy, you've already made yourself the presenter. Awesome. Go for it.
And can you hear me now? Good afternoon.
Hear you loud and clear.
Awesome, thanks, Matt. I just wanted to let everyone know that some of the things that they need to keep in mind with the new maintenance releases, and some things that have changed, some things that I've been seeing come up a bit. I just wanted to cover some topics today that I'm hoping that everyone will find useful. I don't have any fancy slides prepared like Matt, but we're just going to go through some live demonstrations just to kind of show where everything is. I'll go ahead and open a file and then we can start talking. While that opens, let me go ahead and mention, as Matt said, one thing that I wanted to point out is, regardless of which maintenance release you're using, 10.9 or 10.10, when you do your initial installation and your Worksets creation, when you create your Worksets folder in the FDOT, you always have the Xero Workset template, and that is what all of your Workset project templates are based off of when you create those. Within that Workset template, your quantities templates are included in the calculations folder. Unfortunately, those are frozen in time with whenever this Xero Workset template is created in your Worksets folder. So at whatever point that is created, those are the templates you're going to get. Whenever we release a new maintenance release, sometimes those templates get updated. Hopefully not too often, but as we progress, we may make some slight changes to those. If you have updated and you tend to use those blank templates for any reason, or if you need to use those blank templates any reason that should be created in your calculations folder, you may want to go to your current installation of either FDOTConnect or FDOTConnect 10.10 and find the corresponding folder in that Xero Workset template and just copy those templates to your local projects. The way to do that would be to look on, right now I've got the FDOTConnect 10.902 here installed. I would look not in the organization civil, but in the workspaces, in the Worksets, the Xero Workset template that has all of the folders. If you look in that calculations, this folder that's labeled blank templates, if any of these have been updated, you will notice the last modified date on these to be able to compare to what you have in your project. If you need to get any of these updated, you can always copy the entire folder and just copy it into your project and replace any old templates that you may have, just to ensure that the blank templates that are there are the most current. The only time those blank templates are used are when the designer actually wants to pull one of those and fill them out by hand. Any of the templates or summary tables that are created through the FDOT Takeoff Manager will already be pulling from other resources and will create those templates with the latest, regardless of what's in that folder. So the blank templates folder is populated based on the Xero Workset templates. The actual summaries that are created with the Takeoff Manager should be the latest. So if you're using any automated quantities, it should pull from the latest resources with your maintenance release. So unless you're just copying one of those blank templates from that folder in your calculations folder, that should not be an issue. But I did want to point it out in case anyone needs to utilize one of those to be filled out manually. Make sure you have the latest version. Okay, that's a little bit of housekeeping there. So let me go ahead and close this out. So that's the main thing to keep in mind as maintenance releases come out, and as we grow and build and make these tools even better every time we deliver them to you. For the main thing that I really wanted to get into today, I've noticed a lot of users having a little bit of trouble with a change that we had to make. In the 10.09.01 maintenance release, so that was the October maintenance release, we had to make a change to the item type definitions for tonnage items. And that would be the friction course, the driveway base, miscellaneous asphalt pavement, super pave asphaltic concrete, and temporary driveways. There's just those 5, but we found that we had run into an error that the item type property name thickness conflicted with a Bentley property that was also named thickness. So it was not able to determine, the tools were not able to determine which one to use, and the calculations were not pulling that value in to compute the proper quantities. So we had to change the name of this property in the item types, and we changed it to lift so that it would be a unique name. Now, any project that's already started that has this old item type or these old item types in it, and you'll notice here the file that I have open is from our training data set, and you'll notice that the little blue triangle is there, and the resource differs from the library. That means that when this file was created, these item types were written into the file, and it no longer matches the DGN library for the item types. So there's a newer version with the maintenance release than what is in this file. If you do not update this, it couldn't read that value. Now keep in mind, this thickness is only used for 2D computation for these tonnage items. Tonnage for 3D meshes is calculated from the volume. For 2D, if you were using 2D shapes in your QTD SRD, say you were doing just a 3R project or something that you weren't completely modeling and you were using your QTD SRD to create 2D shapes, at that point you would need to enter the thickness, because from a 2D you have to take the area, multiply it by the thickness, multiply it by, it has the formula, and it needs that thickness value to compute off the 2D. And for any files that have been created with this old version, it has this thickness, the quantity takeoff manager will no longer recognize that property because it conflicts. So what we had to do is we had to change that name, and what you'll need to do is you'll need to update those. Now there's 2 things that I wanted to point out. You can easily just select this in the item types. Let me start from scratch here. In the utilities ribbon, in the item types, the flyout at the bottom opens your item types dialog. If you see that the local resource differs, you can select that group and update from library. Now I will caution prior to doing that, if you have a file that has extensive information in it and you have multiple thicknesses assigned to multiple different item types, you may want to hold off on doing that update, because when you do this update, especially in a 2D file, it is going to overwrite, or actually what it'll do is it will take that thickness, it will delete it out. So any values you've already assigned will disappear, and it will replace it with the name lift in that same property area. But the problem is when you update from library, it completely erases thickness and puts in lift. Now, if you already have a lot of them assigned, there is a way to update it without losing the data. If everything's the same thickness, say you're in a QTD SRD model and you have all of your friction course and it's all 2 inches, then all you have to do is update from library, and then you would go in and select your friction course in your items, and you can update all of them to 2 inches at one time. Very easy, very straightforward, no big deal. But if you have a bunch of different thicknesses in your file, you don't want to lose that. If you come into the item types and rename that property, because you're not deleting it and replacing it, because you're renaming an existing property, it doesn't lose the data. So I could rename this to lift, and none of the data in my file would get replaced. I would have to save it from here. And you would have to do that for all 5 of those tonnage items. So you can reset all of those this way, and you don't lose your data. You don't lose those thickness properties, those thickness values that have already been set in your file. And once those are all done, then you can update from the DGN lib and make sure that everything is up to date otherwise. The easiest thing to do is just go ahead and update from library and set them, unless you have a lot. And I would say, if you have a complex project and you have any questions on this, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you walk through it. But hopefully this is going to be enough information that you'll be able to do these without too much trouble. Any new file created will have the new item types. This is only for existing projects that have existing files that have these assigned in them. If you create a new QTD SRD file with your maintenance release, it will have all of the correct information already from the DGN lib. I'm going to go ahead and click update from library. And I will reiterate that this only affects the 2D aspects of this. So if you have these already assigned in files that are, oh, that's lovely. If you already had that assigned in files that that were 3D models, it would not affect your quantities because for 3D meshes, it pulls the volume from the mesh rather than the 2D area multiplied by that thickness value. So it essentially, for 3D, it ignores that thickness. Okay, so that's one thing that I wanted to cover. When this reopens, I want to point out a couple of other things. And actually, while we're waiting on that to open, I will go ahead and touch on one thing that I've been seeing a lot of, and I want everyone to keep in mind that when you're filling out these summary tables, if you have to fill them out by hand, I see quite a few people struggling with how they enter those numbers in. And I want to point out that if you're manually filling out a summary table and you need to enter a pay item number in there, I always point out in my trainings that they need to be in BOE format. And when I say BOE format, I've opened here, I'm in the basis of estimates, design quantities and estimates page here, hoping that everyone is familiar with that. I've got this pay item opened. BOE format is always a 10-digit format. It's always 4 digits and 3 digits and 3 digits. This has dashes in it. That is not how it's recognized in the Ash2Ware programs. What we have to do is make sure This format down here is what we always need to make sure we use. No dashes, and make sure that you have the correct number of spaces in between all of these numbers. So in this case, I'm looking at asphaltic concrete. There's the 3 separate sections of the number. The first section is 4 digits, the second section is 3 digits, and the last section is 3 digits. And in the correct format, you're going to have your leading 0 followed by your item number. Then you're going to have 3 digits. In this case, there's only 1 used, so it needs 2 spaces to hold that full format. And in this last group of 3, it only has 2 digits, so we have to put a space there. So make sure that you always have either 10 digits, or if the last group is unused, you can leave those off, but only if the last group is unused in this structure. Just make sure you use that format. If you try to use a different format, if you type those in manually with dashes or not the right number of spaces, you're going to get errors trying to upload it through Designer Interface for the Ashtaware. And also you may get comments, even though it will come through in the estimated quantities report with dashes or incorrect spaces, it won't work downstream, and you would probably get review comments that the pay item numbers are in the incorrect format if they're not in this format. So this is always a good place to check. You can actually copy from here and always feel comfortable that you've got your number in the correct format. Let's see. One more thing I want to point out, and I'll actually see if I can open the QTD SRD, which is the 2D for this project, just so that I can demonstrate. As you are going through and updating and QCing existing projects that are moving forward into these new maintenance releases, in case you have a pay item that's updated or something changes from one maintenance release to the next, the easiest way to find, and I don't have a whole lot of variety in these examples here, maybe this one will be the best. Okay, so in this one I've got some different, this is one of the ones that I used for clearing and grubbing. So clearing and grubbing has still not been automated. That's going to come hopefully soon. We have to work on automating with the pay item numbers that have both lump sum and another unit of measure on the same pay item. We don't quite have the infrastructure yet to handle that, but that's coming soon. But because I have the item types on this, it'll allow me to show better how to handle this. And I'm sure you're noticing that I'm moving these around so that we can better visualize what's going on. And this is something that you can definitely take advantage of, because it can be overwhelming when you have a lot of information to deal with when you're QCing these guys. But anyway, what I wanted to get to is using the advanced search. I know a lot of people are struggling with their QC right now, especially when you get into your submittal times. And it's the most frustrating time in any project when you're getting ready to do a submittal and something's not looking right, and you need to find out where you have the wrong pay item or why this pay item isn't reporting correctly. This advanced search tool is a lifesaver, because you can narrow your search down quite a bit, especially if you're in a 3D model that has multiple pay items and item types within that model. So you can actually narrow this down by item type and then by any property on the item type. So if I wanted to find, and you'll see over here the item type name is ditch pavement. If I wanted to find ditch pavement where the design notes were equal to the clearing and grubbing, so I can actually let me do it while I've got that. I've got to select this first. I'm going to cheat and copy and paste. If I wanted to find all of those guys, I can use the advanced search. If I want to find all of the ditch pavement where the design notes equal the clearing and grubbing number, I would add that to the search and click OK, and it's going to give me the search results of all of those that actually include that in the design notes. You can look for design notes, and once that's selected and you have that in there, you can look at those and you can they'll be highlighted and you can visually check them. But another thing that you can do is in the properties, you notice I have my properties dialog docked. You can right click and isolate, and it turns everything off but those. Once they're isolated, I can go through and reselect, if it'll let me reselect. There we go. It seems to be hung. Why is it hung? There we go. Now I can select all of these elements again, if it'll let me. Never fails. I've got something else active probably. Okay. For some reason, it is not cooperating with me today. All right. Usually, that's why, because it had the add on there. Okay, so now I've deselected it, and now I can select everything. User error. I'm sure everybody has struggled with that one at times. My element selection had gotten messed up. Anyway, now that I've got it isolated, I can reselect all those elements and not only see that item type, I can see all of the properties on those elements. And at this point, if I needed to say, hey, my alignment name changed, I can go in and change my alignment. If I need to, I could come into another item type that was associated with those. I can edit that if needed. And when you're done, all you need to do is right click on any actual element, clear isolate, and everything is back where it needs to be. You still have your search results over here. You can select it again, or when you're done, you can delete the search. But as long as you're in this instance until you close out of MicroStation or until you delete the search, those search results will be there. And you can do more searches, and you can narrow it down by more than one element. You can, let's see, if I wanted to go where ditch pavement, the design notes equal that, add it to search, and where the type is equal to, say, Rip Rap Rebel, I can add that to the search as well. You can add as many things to this search down there to narrow down your search as what makes it useful to you for your QC process. So that hopefully you will find useful in your review and QC and troubleshooting when the time comes, because this is the most powerful tool for your review and troubleshooting when it comes time to prepare everything for submittal. let's see. I think that's all I wanted to go over today. Matt, do you want to start addressing some questions? Did you want to take back over the screen and we can start addressing some questions that may have come in?
I would absolutely love to address some questions. So give me just a second to get my screen situated. Alrighty. And I'll make myself the presenter just because. Oh, can you make me the presenter? Looks like I can't make myself the presenter. Weird.
I think that did it.
Yep. All right, there we are. Going over some questions. Let's see what has yet to be answered. Some questions about automated quantities. Let's see, questions about what templates do we have in the Xero Workset template folder under Worksets. Candy, did you want to answer as far as what? That's, I imagine, a bit of a long list, right?
Actually, I was just talking to Todd, Matt, and there's no civil data in the Workset template folders. So if you mix 10 and 9 together, it doesn't matter.
Oh.
And what kind of templates is he talking? Templates from the ITL? If it's the ITL, that comes from the resources, and it builds it on the fly when you create a project or create a file in the roadway folder from the create file tool.
Right.
So.
Okay. Let's see. I'm not going to answer any quantity questions. I'll leave that up to Candy. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm just trying to scroll through them too.
I'll see if there's anything relevant to share.
There's some, I noticed there's some questions about the light poles. I don't understand why they don't have a box that reads the lighting items. If the pay item is assigned to most lighting items, I see. The 71561 to 11, those have just been opened. The validate 7/1, 2022. Those should be available. It can read those. I included them in the resources for the summary table. I don't believe they have been updated in the traffic plans tools yet to include those because they are so new. That will probably come out in the next release around April. But at this time, I would recommend using the corresponding item or the corresponding existing pay item element for the light pole complete, the 715.4, and then you can change the item type for the pay item there, and it'll pick it up because those are in the resources.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
They are added. You already have those in the release that went out last week.
Awesome. So they have been added. So they should be out and available in the 10.9.2 and the 10.10 versions, and you should be able to do that. If you have any trouble getting those in and getting them to read, please reach out to us and we will see if we can help you troubleshoot that.
Okay, I've got one here. The software on the website is in zip containers, are MSI files, and no option to install with administrative rights. The install guide refers to exe files to install with admin rights. A little bit of an explanation on that. Our FDOT software has always been distributed as MSI files, Microsoft installer files. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what MSI stands for. And they always force administrative rights when installing, so you don't ever have to right-click to request admin rights or to force it to run as admin because it already does that. The exe files being referred to in the installation guide are the Bentley installers, which have always been, for some reason, exe files. And if you don't right-click on those exe files to install Open Roads or MicroStation or Open Bridge, there is a possibility that they won't have sufficient permissions to fully install the software. You typically don't get an error message. It just goes through the installation process and misses a couple of resources here and there, and then you may or may not run into problems down the road. It was a larger problem with stuff like Power Geopack and the Select Series stuff, but we always do recommend when you're installing those Bentley applications using those exe installers that Bentley supplies to make sure you right-click and select Run as Administrator, so it forces it to run as administrator. But again, the FDOT software is, yes, distributed as MSI files, and you don't need to do that because MSIs will always run as administrator. So good question. Let's see. Did Bentley fix the issue with leader rotation for 1010 for placing labels? Yes. It's one of the most exciting aspects of the new 1010 platform. This is a good question to share with everyone. If you're having problems logging into the CAD portal for submitting support requests, the FDOT service desk administers the login credentials for that, and their email address is fdot.servicedesk@dot.state.fl.us. That's in the questions there. That's only for, again, if you're trying to log into that portal to submit a ticket to the CAD office and your login credentials aren't working. I know that they have off and on had some problems with login credentials. CAD office is not in control of that, unfortunately. So, oh, same thing with new external customer creation. Yeah, if you're having troubles creating credentials for the FDOT portal. Got a question about Rebar and Pro Structures. Mike, were you involved with the Rebar and Pro Structures aspect of the software?
Nope, sorry.
Okay.
Not involved with it.
Who was
I would refer that to Steve Tissier.
Oh,
We
that's
haven't
right.
developed anything for Pro Structures yet.
Okay. I noticed that there were some resources. If you read the release notes, there's some notes about that, but I think that might just be sort of some additional early development on that.
We've updated resources, but we at FDOT we're not supporting it right now. So I would reach out to Steve Tissier.
Okay.
On that question or anything with the rebar. He has the workflow kind of down.
Okay.
We're not there yet.
Looking through these questions here. Okay. We've answered most of the questions, and I don't immediately see questions that I necessarily need to share with the group. Change select to from plus pointer. I'm not sure what that's in reference to.
That's when Candy was doing her demo.
Oh, right. Okay.
On the tool.
I thought that was an enhancement request. Okay. So it does look like we're, oh, nope, I'm not remotely at the end of the questions. I'm at the end of the questions on my screen. I am so sorry for saying that. Okay, got another question about the inline leader that is fixed in 1010. Do we need to reinstall the f.ord to do the upgrade? Okay, so that's a great question. If you are, so I'm gonna answer that in a couple different ways. If you've already got the Open Roads Designer or Connect Edition application, the 1009 certified version installed, and you're running 1009.01, the MR1, or frankly even the if you haven't updated to MR1, whatever, as long as you've got the correct version of the 1009 software, all you need to do is uninstall your FDOTConnect software and install the new FDOTConnect 100902 to update your 1009 software. So you do need to uninstall and reinstall the FDOT software, but you don't need to uninstall and reinstall OpenRoads. Beyond that, after that, if you want to go ahead and install the FDOT 1010, FDOTConnect 1010, you will then need to install the certified version of the 1010 software, whether it's OpenRoads, MicroStation, or OpenBridge, and then install the FDOTConnect 1010 after that. So the only thing you would really need to do if you've already got the 1009 software installed is uninstall and install the new FDOTConnect 100902 if that's the direction you're going. What is the best way to identify which version is installed? Oh man, there's a couple different ways. Let's do that. That's a great question. I'm still showing my screen, right? That's Eugene, by the way. I know I introduced him already. Where is that folder? It's hiding behind things. There we are. Okay. So how do you tell what version of what you have installed? So I'm in my FDOTConnect folder right here. I'm going to launch Workspace Doctor, which is a wonderful application written by our fantastic developer support specialist, Bob Thorburn. Makes lots of awesome tools. To tell what versions you have installed, you can click on the little 3 dots to the left of the Run button, the ellipses button next to the Run button. It's going to bring up this dialog. It tells me my FDOT version is 10.9.2, so 10.09.02. Shows me what version of ORD I have installed and what version of Connection Client. If I had something else installed, like OBM or OBD or MicroStation, it would show me what version I have installed of that. That shows you what you have installed versus what is the certified version. So if you click on the About, you'll get the list of certified versions. Another little aside is I mentioned the configuration. When you're installing the application, make sure you set the custom configuration location. If your IT staff was doing the installation and they weren't paying attention to you when you said set the custom configuration, you can click on the View ORD Configuration button here, and it'll take you here where you can enter that information. That's in the configuration file. That way you don't have to dig for it. But as far as other questions go, if I go to the FDOTConnect 1010, launch Workspace Doctor, there's a new button that says Configuration. A little bit easier to find. And this will show you what versions of the software that you have installed as well. So 2 different ways to find that for your 2 different platforms. Alternatively, the good old-fashioned add or remove programs. Oops, and now that's stuck behind something. You can search for FDOT. Once you click on it, it is going to show you that version number here.
Did you go over the color of the icons, Matt?
But that's a great thing now that you mention it. Did everyone notice that the launch icons are a different color now? That makes it visually easier to determine which one of the platforms, which one of the applications you're launching. Is that what you're referring to there, Todd?
Yep.
Excellent. Yep, we redid the icons so that they look different, so you won't get confused about which one you're trying to launch. So that is the easiest way. Let's see. Expand these out. Okay, files that we're using 1010 cannot be, so the person is rephrasing the question, files that we're using 1010 cannot be used, instead just read only in 1010. Sorry, files that are using 1009 cannot be used, instead just read only in 1010. And the answer is no, they can be moved forward into 1010. You just simply can't open a 1009 file and have it stay a 1009 file. You can either open it read only or update it to 1010. Okay, What if it did not add the FDOTConnect 1010 folder on my desktop? I only got a shortcut with FDOTConnect 1010. We had that problem previously with, that's Gene writing in. We had that problem previously with you with the other FDOT, or one of the FDOT softwares not creating a folder, but creating the shortcut. And I can't remember exactly what, I think it was a permissions issue set to your profile by your IT folks, I think. I don't know. Shoot me an email. We'll troubleshoot it. Okay. Todd, you had something? I heard you.
No, I was just say it's 3:01.
Oh, it is 3:01. Wow, I thought we still had a few minutes. Okay, so we have hit the top of the hour. I do appreciate everyone tuning in and spending time with us today, learning about the CAD software. If you have any questions, of course, you know that you can email us at cad.support@dot.state.fl.us, cad.support@dot.state.fl.us, or if you happen to know any of our individual names, you're welcome to email us directly, but we do prefer that you send an email to that CAD support email because that goes to multiple people and is likely to get you a quicker response if someone has stepped away to refresh their coffee. So, and that's all I have to say. Todd, do you have any final words? Oh, Todd's logged off. Okay, great. So again, I'm Matt Sexton, the Florida Department of Transportation's CAD office. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to y'all later.